has a bright light inside of them that deserves to be seen by the world. That's why it's time to shine the light on the extraordinary who are accomplishing phenomenal things. This is the Shine Out Loud Show with Lillian Ogbogo.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever in the world you are, and welcome to another episode of the Shine Out Loud Show with me, Lillian Ogbogo, and my incredible guest. Now, today is the 24th of January, and the reason why it's really important is because it's one day to our full year of going as a show. So I think having this woman on the show pre our birthday is just phenomenal. I have the distinctive pleasure of interviewing Mariatu Turay. For those who don't know her name, you know her brand as Gita's Portal. This is a woman that makes clothes for you to stand out, be bold, and be seen in. She is a self-taught designer, self-taught, self-made, going from homeless teen to brick and mortar designer. This woman is just phenomenal because I've had the pleasure of I met her a good few years ago through a mutual friend of ours, and I remember her days in doing the pop-up market stalls and in different places, different events, different festivals. And I still have a picture of all of us from 7 years ago where we were in Burgess Park. We spent the whole day in Burgess Park, and she had these phenomenal outfits. All the way back then to now, join me and welcome the illustrious, the fantastic, the ever fabulous Mariatu Turay.
Wow, what an introduction. Thank you. That's ever so lovely, Lillian. Thank you ever so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Hi, guys.
You seem kind of shocked.
I think that's the humble side of me anyway. But thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You know, when you sent me your bio, and I was reading through your bio, and I was like, wait, you're a homeless teen? I was like, wait, I didn't know this. I was like, I thought I knew this woman. I didn't know this. So we're going to get into this show. And, you know, one thing that, you know, like I said, if people don't know your name, they know your brand. Because it was actually funny. I was having a meeting yesterday, and somebody was wearing this, you know, the girl in the red glasses was wearing a fantastic coat. And I looked at her and I go, you know what? Where did you get your coat? Oh, she's like, oh, it's Gita's Portal. I'm like,
yep.
Isn't it a small, small world? So let's dive right in. And I have a few questions for you. Nothing too intense. But one of your mantras is don't give up on your dreams. Be bold when wear color. Where did that come from?
That comes back to my journey story. And me discovering who I was as a woman and embracing that. And I guess, you know, if you look back as we evolve as women, we all go through a period of our lives where I think we are not quite sure who we are. And so be bold when we're color. If you like, it's sort of saying to women, I want you to embrace who you are. I want you to love yourself. And I want you to be unapologetic about who you are, if you like, and your beauty. So when you look at that, I know a lot of people sort of think it's just about the outside, but it's not. It's actually starting with self and getting to that place where you embrace who you are. And that comes from, I guess, a place of self-discovery. And once you do that, as I did during my journey story, you get to a place where you start to, you know, be confident in yourself. And I think when you start to be confident in yourself and you start to acknowledge who you are, embrace that, and you sort of not allow the world to define who you are, you start to shine. Because I believe we all have something unique about us. And many a times we tend to ignore that thing within us that makes us special, that makes people sort of gravitate towards us, or that means that we start to sort of operate in our impact zone. We tend to leave behind many a times because we're looking for people maybe to affirm us. But I'm saying to women out there, you know, embrace who you are. It's already there. The signals are there. You know, love yourself and start to step out in that true glory of who you are. And you start to shine. You start to experience your impact zone. And once you sort of are in that space, that's when, if you like, you can sort of start to make a difference You start to use your sphere of influence to make a difference in people's lives. You start to really step out and people sort of just connect with you.
For a brand, I actually like that. For a mantra, I absolutely love that. And I actually agree that sometimes we forget what makes us unique in that process of let's try and do this, let's fit into this, let's kind of work in someone else's idea. I absolutely love that. So yes, hats off to that. So let's go to the very beginning. So your brand is called Gita's Portal. Where does that name come from?
It's an acronym for God is truly amazing. I've never been one to deny the fact that what I'm able to do is as a result of a God-given gift or a talent.
Great.
And I truly believe that everyone on this earth has at least one talent. And it's up to you to sort of discover what that talent is, to nurture it and run with it. And many a times, again, as I find through my experience in life, is that many a times we leave that behind because we're trying to fit into a mold or what society says we're supposed to be. So even though the telltale signs are there and, the talent is sort of bubbling all the time or people are sort of saying you're good at this, you're good at that, we tend to sort of suppress that.
Yeah.
Instead, we tend to want to be this and be that. All the cues and things that society says we should be, you start to chase after, sort of neglecting that very same talent that can make a way for you. So for me, I am really, really blessed to have been able to discover my talent and to run with it. And, it's, for me, when I say Gita's Portal, it's a reminder to myself to be humble and appreciate where my talent comes from, but also to recognize that my talent has been given to me, not only to be a blessing to myself, but also to be a blessing to others. And the portal bit is literally just an acknowledgement that when you walk in your talent will open doors for you, will make way for you. It will, lead you into experiences that you may not have necessarily had otherwise. So I am always saying to women out there, embrace your talent, embrace what it is that, again, goes back to that, be bold, win, wear color, embrace it, run with it. That's what is going to make you shine at the end of the day.
Oh, I love it. Especially the shining part. I definitely love it. So, when we think of your story, we think of the Gita's Portal, we think of your base in Deptford. Most, like I said, I've known you for a while. Most people did not know that you were, as a teen, you were homeless. So how do you go from homeless teen in the US to a graduate and civil servant in the UK? How did that transition?
Looking back on my life, I say I'm grateful for all the hardships and the challenges. And I always say to people, do not run away from your challenges. I know challenges are sort of, when you're going through them, they're bitter. But at the end of the day, if you stick with it and you grab that nugget of wisdom or experience, that's what's going to help you on the rest of your journey. And for me, when this all happened, because again, if I go back, it happened as a result of civil war in Sierra Leone. And it was a difficult time because I had a pretty decent, childhood. My parents, were both educated and they provided a comfortable lifestyle. But, due to war and my family being involved in politics, we were targeted. So sort of overnight, what I sort of knew and experienced all sort of changed. But in that change, I believe I am who I am today because I had to go through that. And that has taught me a lot. So in that process of being homeless, and it was not just once, because when I went to the US as well, when I left as a refugee, I experienced homelessness there. And when I came to London, I experienced homeless again. So 3 times. But what that taught me was, to appreciate what you have. No matter what the situation is that you may be going through, appreciate life. Because at the end of the day, life could be much worse. And for some of the people some of my fellow Sierra Leoneans that went through the war, some of them are not even here with me today because of that. So I am grateful for life. So just that gives me a sort of a spirit of gratitude. It also makes me realize that you do not, what I say is don't despise humble beginnings, because my beginnings were, if you like, very humble in that sense. But it was a humility that taught me a lot. It also made me realize that I had a lot more inside of me, because sometimes challenges will bring out things in you that you never really knew you had. But through those experiences, I've been able to recognize who I am as a woman, recognize the strengths that I never knew were in me,
Right.
And the value of hard work. I always say to people, do not shy away from hard work. Hard work is necessary if you want to be successful or if you want to shine in anything you're going to do.
This is
I've
true.
never known a lazy person that's gone on to, create waves in the world, if you know what I mean. So do not shy away from hard work. And also, for me, it taught me the value of see it to have it.
Okay.
And I still live by that, in the sense that when you're going through challenges in life, the one thing that's going to make you get up every time and say to yourself, you know what, life has got to be better, is when you have a clear vision ahead of you. And when that vision is so clear and you're passionate about it, you know that no matter what the circumstance is right now, you may be at your lowest point, which I've had many a times, but you know that no matter how low it is, the only way is up for you.
Right.
And you're going to make it, if you know what I mean. So for me, seeing it to have it is one of those things that I am always sort of, living my life by. Even the success of Gita's Portal, it hasn't been because I've just been like, yeah, it's going to happen. No, I've had to see every step of the way what I want to achieve.
Right.
Even within my marriage, what I want for my marriage, what I want for my children. I vision it. And visioning it is very, very powerful.
Oh, yeah.
And putting your faith behind that. Because, of course, when you're going through your challenges in life, sometimes it's quite hard to see anything other than the physical situation that you're in. And I say you have to sort of transport yourself beyond that into maybe a spiritual sort of environment where you're applying faith and just saying, you know what, this is where I want to go and this is what's going to happen. And you start to just have those, positive affirmations to seeing that vision come to life. And it really helps focus you as well.
I agree.
And for me, that's very powerful. And I've used that a lot of times to sort of say, well, you know what? Yes, this is happening in my life. I'm not going to be distracted by it. I'm not going to be buried by it. I will go through this experience. I'm going to get as much as I can from this experience because I know that whatever I learn from this along my journey, I'm going to need to reapply it, the learning, to take me forward. And that's exactly what's happened to me. So I always encourage people to see it and you'll have it.
Okay, well, that's a lot, and that's a mouthful. And, to go through homelessness, not just once, not just twice, but 3 times, and actually come out on the other side and say, this is a life I am actually creating. Mm-hmm. Now, looking at yourself and the fact that you are a fashion designer who is African inspired, what are the biggest challenges that you faced as a African inspired designer?
I think the first thing is acceptance. And one of the things I found out when I started off, let me just go back, because when I started off very humbly. I, did markets first to sort of test, my products and see whether there was indeed a market for it, whether people liked what I was doing and how I could refine that. And I remember in particular going to a particular market. I don't want to call their name actually. But anyway, and being moved constantly week from week because particular traders at that time, African fashion was of course not, sort of the in thing, and particular traders saying that my garments or the bright colors were sort of garish and it was distracting their customers and preventing their customers from having a pleasant shopping experience.
Oh my. And
I remember thinking, wow. So there was that bit of it. So sort of people, I guess appreciating what I brought to market. And also what I found interesting at the time as well was also people of African heritage would stop by and say, oh, I remember this when I was back home. And I'd be like, do you like it? Did this and that? Oh, or do you want to buy something? Oh, I wouldn't wear that here. And it was a sense of like they were not very proud of that side of it. Now things have changed, but those were some of the earlier challenges that I experienced in terms of people accepting what I was bringing to market. And, it took a while. And now, yes, a lot of people, are wearing it. Celebrities are wearing it. So now, of course, African fashion is in vogue. The other thing as well with the challenge of this is what I say is the poor perception, and the generalizations that people make when it comes to anything African. The fact that people automatically assume that, when it's African, it may be of poor quality, etc., etc., etc. And you get people who say to me, I go to Africa and, I've got these fabrics or I've got this clothes and, I can't wear it, but it was nice to bring a keepsake because, it's not really made well. And so people tend to sort of take that view And again, this is not a view that's just isolated to fashion, if you like. It goes across the piece.
Of course.
If you know what I mean. And of course, Donald Trump comes to mind with his recent comments around that. So, so that was an issue. But one of the things that I did was saying to people, you know what, I know of an Africa, and I've experienced Africa because I've lived there. And I know of an Africa that is different, despite all the problems that we may have. It's no different from all the other countries that you have around the world. Every country has its problems. It's just that the media tends to, the media game is to spotlight on something and to use that. And Africa, of course, is always in that position. But I have used Gita's portal to fight against these sort of negative views of my country or of my continent. And how I do that is by making sure that I am producing quality clothes all the time. And when it comes to customer service, I don't joke on that. Because again, you hear people say, well, African businesses, customer service is poor. You go in there, they don't even greet you well, and la, 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 la. So I listen, and I have tried my best through my work to try and give people that experience, that challenges that view. And so in my little way, that's how I am trying to change the negative perceptions. But also, what I find as well, now that African fashion is popular, one of the challenges is that everybody is a designer, African designer syndrome, where now everybody you find from, one bit of the world to another is all of a sudden an African designer and an expert in it.
Yes.
And the horrid thing that I find with that is, especially from myself and other designers who I know have been in this and been doing it from the heart, is that they come at it not with the passion that we do.
No.
So of course they go to our kindly Chinese neighbors, get the cheap African print, sew it anyhow, and then come to the market and present it as African fashion.
Yeah.
So if you like, it's taken away from what we're trying to achieve. And again, as I said, the trying to negate or come against the sort of stereotype of Africa and what Africa has to offer. So, that's some of the challenges that I find. But also the mainstream media, you find that, for example, once a big designer dabbles in African print, all of a sudden
it's been discovered.
Yes.
There was a piece that you did, which I thought was very interesting after Stella McCartney
Yes.
Featured African print, and it was like, African print has been discovered, and I'm like,
it's annoying, isn't it?
I'm like, okay, you know what? If we have to respond to everything, we will spend our lives in this state of upset. But your article on it was very succinct, because it's really annoying, because all of a sudden it's like, oh yes, now African fashion is something. It's like when I think it was Madonna had African fashion, and you're like, oh dear God, I see where this is going. It's not going to be good.
Well, the sad reality for us as designers is that we've been doing this. And for myself, that's an extension of who I am. I grew up in Sierra Leone. African prints were part of my everyday life. My aunt sold cloth in the marketplaces. So for me, it comes from a true place where I'm passionate about it. So when you see, somebody that doesn't really care about the print, really, maybe doesn't even know much about it, but because they're a big designer and they do it, and then it's splashed all over the media, you get a sense of frustration, because there are many people like myself who've been doing this for years who do not get that sort of media attention, and we don't get a look in, where we are working hard behind the scenes, and it's taking us 2-3 times as long to really make our mark, if you know what I mean. So the media, again, can be a frustration. So that's one of the challenges, in that the media is not really interested in spotting or in shining their spotlight on people like myself, if you know what I mean, who will be here whether African fashion is popular or not. Because before it was even popular, I was already doing it.
Yes.
If you know what I mean. Yes. I'm in for the long haul. Because for me, this is more than just
It's not
clothes.
It's
more than just fashion. Exactly.
It's not a fad for you. For others, it's a fad come and go. It's the latest thing. It's let's try this because it's an in thing and the colors are kind of bright. So let's go into that and see how it works.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's keep going, because looking at you, and one of the things that I know that you were self-taught. So coming up, who were your big influencers? When you sew, when you create, when you drive that creation into being?
To be honest, I've never really... So if you're saying looking at another big brand out there or a particular individual, no.
It doesn't have to be...
No,
doesn't
for
have to
me,
be a brand.
to be honest, it comes really back to the African woman. And when I was growing up, my aunts were all voluptuous women.
Right.
Beautifully shaped, you understand? The nice, boobs, small waist, and the big round buttocks, if you want to put it that way. Understand? But they were... I used to look at them and I think, oh my God, these women are sexy. And you know how back home the women would dress? They would drape the cloth so seductively around their bodies, emphasizing everything about the black woman that says this is who the black woman is. And for me, when I used to see that, I was like, wow. And the styles back home that my aunts used to wear, I used to just dream. Because at the time, and I still am to some extent, it's a very sporty looking. So I used to think to myself, okay, yes, I'm a teenager now, but maybe at some point I would get all these curves and the things that you sort of always want in life sometimes, they sort of elude you. So I didn't get the curves. I didn't get the boobs. I didn't get the bum. But for me, each time I sort of design, or it's really paying homage to that as well. Right. If you know what I mean. It's celebrating our figures as women as well. Yeah.
I love that. And, when you look, you manage to juggle marriage, motherhood, and a business. So what does time management look like for you when you're juggling all of that alongside your business?
The honest truth is it's crazy sometimes. It's crazy balancing all these different hats. And I'm not going to say that I've mastered it. One of the great helps, and I'm going to shout out, is my husband. Yeah? And I think our black men don't get enough praise when they are doing fantastic, whether it's in the home, whether it's in supporting women in business. And my husband is one of those. He is phenomenal. For those who have known us from the days of
the market
stalls.
Yep, he was there for the
my
setups.
My husband is always there. He is the muscle behind the business physically as well. He's a big guy. So he lifts those iron bars,
and the
sets them up, the tables, everything else, because I'm quite small next to him, so I can't lift much. But he does all that. He's a staunch supporter, even the nights or the days where I'm really feeling down and there's a lot. He gives me a sense of balance. He helps me see through things by always being that sort of voice of reason, and so he's really good. And sometimes I hear women say, oh, my husband or my partner doesn't want to invest in me, I'm struggling. But to be honest, he has invested every bit in me and really is proud to see me shine and will go out of his way to even find opportunities. So I'm in a very blessed place when it comes to having a partner who sees the vision, who wants to be a part of the vision and is actively investing in the vision, because as he says, your success is my success, which is absolutely beautiful. And I'm really blessed to have that.
No, I agree. And I think we should make him your so loved moment of the week.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So when we get around to that, we should do that. And, this is something that I've personally seen. I've seen him do that at all the different events that we've been at. Mm-hmm. Your husband's been there from day.
Yeah.
And he's currently sitting outside in the car in the cold, waiting to pick you up. So that's a husband to be proud of right there.
But I was also going to say that in terms of time management as well, one of the things I've had to develop a discipline for is being able to set very firm objectives. So for me, in terms of, and that helps me as well with my self-care, one of the things that I've had to do is to really prioritize and say to myself, okay, for me to do all this, these are the things I'm going to focus on. And I've got to be quite strict with those. Mm-hmm. So one of those blocks, if you like, is, family. So my kids, blah, 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 blah. So I say, okay, that's important. I've got to spend time on them. My marriage, business, and of course, myself. Yeah. My spirituality. So in that regard, it does mean that if things don't quite fit squarely into those boxes, I'm more likely to go no, if you know what I mean. And being able to say no is powerful as well, because before I was the sort of woman who would try and do everything, try and maybe please as much people as possible. But I've had to sort of roll that back and go, no, certain things I don't do. And just realizing that certain things I can't do. So, for example, if you call me today and say, let's go maybe clubbing or let's go, no. Understand? It's not really constructive for me to engage in that. And so it's just having very clear priorities and making sure that the things or the different strands of things that you then get involved in, if they don't fit into that.
If they're not in alignment for
yes, you. Then you can sort of say no. And that helps again with, not even just sanity as well.
Yeah, I think that whole thing about, especially for women, understand the power of the no.
Yeah,
that is, I think, one of the tools every woman needs to have in her self-care kit, to say, no, I can't. And it doesn't have to come with any explanation, no apologies, nothing. It's just no. Yeah. And so what advice would you give anyone who wants to follow in your footsteps?
I would say make sure that it's what you want to do. Again, I've experienced people who, I guess, are not in that space where they fully know themselves, who, again, I guess see maybe a friend or another woman excelling, and they just think, I can do this too. And they sort of jump in. Now, it may well be that you may be able to do that, or maybe that's part of your calling as well. But I would say make sure you know that whether it's coming into fashion or any other sort of business, that you really are passionate, because there are going to come times when it's the passion that's going to take you to the next level. Yeah. Business isn't for everyone. Quite honestly, it's not for everyone. There are going to be a lot of hard times where, for example, if you are the sort of person who know you need that paycheck coming in with a certain amount of money every month, business, especially in the early days, is not going to be like that. If you know what I mean. There are going to be a lot of peaks and troughs. Times when you're like, whoops, I don't know if, I'm going to even make enough to cover basic bills, blah, 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 blah. So these are some of the realities of being in business. And business as well can be a lonely place. And it means you have to be ready to put your head above and take decisions. If you're a person who can't take decisions and you don't like risks, then perhaps this is not really for you, if you know what I mean. So these are some of the things I guess you have to just play against yourself and just see that you've got the stamina for it. Right. Because if you don't have the stamina, you're going to crumble in no time, because it's not an easy place to be. But passion, having a clear vision of what you want, will help. But there are other things that you have to take into consideration to do that.
Okay, so having a clear vision, being able to take a decision, having true passion, and actually being able to, authentically say, this is my passion, that even when the tire hits the rubber hits the road, that passion will sustain you going forward.
Yeah. Okay. Those are just some other things, yeah.
That sounds like sound advice.
Okay.
Sounds like sound advice. And, we're looking at questions, and we're looking at, there are a lot of people, like you said, are going into fashion, and a lot of people collectively are now doing this. And one of the things that you do in your store is you actually support other designers.
Yes.
Tell me a bit more about this.
Well, when we started talking about Gita's Portal, remember I said about being able to be a blessing.
Yes.
Understand? And everything I say and I do is from an authentic part of me. And being able to be a blessing means that if God is blessing me to get somewhere, which I have clearly been able to get this far, I believe that you can't be a blessing in isolation.
Right.
You've got to look for those around you that you can help, that you can support in one way or another. And so for me, some of the ladies who are friends of mine that I have in the store, where, if you like, are at a place that I was a few years back, if you know what I mean. So to me, being blessed to have this space means that I can bring them in and say to them, let's all grow together, if you know what I mean. So that's what I've done, as simple as that.
And that's actually great. And it takes away from that myth that, Black women can't work together, because you're working with some incredible designers, other female designers, which is actually really amazing. And I think we should actually support more and more of that collective working together. Now,
but can I just come in on that?
Sure.
Having said that, I think when you are looking to work with people, make sure there's some common values. You have to. Because again, not everybody can work together, regardless of how good the intention might be.
Sure.
So for the women that I work with, I've known them. We've gone out and, we do this. We're in the same space. So we've been able to know each other. We know what makes each other tick. We have common values. So it makes life easier. But if you don't do that sort of, work and understand who you want to work with, and you just jump into bed with them, problems can unfold, is the honest truth. So it's not a Black woman thing. I think it goes generally about who you work with. So I know, yes, people say, well, you can't work with Black women, blah, blah, blah. So take away the Black. you can't work with anybody if you don't have some commonalities, or you don't have some common values, and you don't have like maybe a common vision of where you want to go and what you want to achieve as part of that.
If you're not on the same page, you cannot work together. It's really that simple.
Yeah.
Now, you have a brick and mortar business, and at a time where most people are trading online, most people are virtual, what are the top 3 lessons you wish you'd learned before before setting up the brick and mortar business side of it?
Wow. I'm only a year into this, so maybe there's some time to learn a few more lessons. It's the honest truth. I think for me, it's not that was lost on me, but the reality is that I am stuck in the shop a lot of time. And I'm one of these people that I get bored quite easily. I need to be constantly doing stuff.
Right.
And because that side of the business is quite new, yes, we do get people coming in to support the shop, maybe, you know, in terms of working in the shop. But of course, a lot of my time is invested there. So I think for me, and maybe that's just personal to me because of my personality, the way I am wired as well, is that being able to keep my sanity sometimes, just being in a shop behind the desk can be tricky. Because there I'm like thinking, okay, this should be done, that should be done, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm sort of that kind of spirit. I like to be constantly having new experiences and doing new things. I mean, it's fantastic. Yes, I meet interesting people, but I think that side of things is like, okay, need to earn a bit more money so I can have somebody sitting behind here 24/7 and not me. And I can go back to the things that that truly give me a buzz. But I think also, it's the reality of business as it is, because I've sometimes asked myself the question, was it the right time to have jumped into this side of things? Now, I didn't just jump frivolously into it, of course. I think from our perspective, the timing was right because we did our research. We knew that particularly within London, there weren't many bricks and mortar stores offering what we offer, or offering African fashion in a space that's convenient, in a space that allows people to have that experience.
Yeah.
So yes, in that sense, yes, you could say the opportunity was right to jump in and create that sort of space, which has been fantastic. Also, our clients, a lot of our clients, because I'm not going to pretend here. When I started off, a lot of people would come to my house,
right,
and try on the clothes. That's how I, But of course, making sure that the people that came in were people that I trusted. But it got to the point where I think my family were completely really, really good, because my house looked like a shop. There were people coming in all the time, women coming from work, and of course for practical reasons, because people would call me and say I have an event, and maybe they couldn't get to a stall that I was doing. And sometimes when you get to the stall, it's not convenient. You can't really try and enjoy the experience of the African clothes because it's outside, it's in the open, you're not very secure. So my house became like the next stop for people to come in. But it got to the point where my house was not anymore home. There was so much footfall. So it also made sense from that perspective, with customers saying, oh, why don't you get a store? It'd be nice to get a store. And yes, it's nice to get a store because people can come in. I have more time to interact with my customers. I love interacting with people anyway, talking to people and, as I say, sharing my journey story or hearing from them and learning that sort of way. So you get that sort of back and forth sort of learning exchange. I do love that. But the timing perhaps, because we know what's happening. And of course, retail, as you see with all the news and everything, retail's had a really tough year. And we are no exception, if you know what I mean. So from that perspective, it's hit us as well. But we are new, so I guess it hits us even much harder.
Of course.
If you know what I mean. So that's been, if you like, one of the challenges. It's the time we've come into the market, and everything that's going on, and, the sort of consumer confidence sort of being down because, people are worried about what's going to happen, whether it's with Brexit or, what's going to happen with regards to their jobs and blah, blah, blah. And of course, what I do is not sort of in the priority box for a lot of people, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So that's been one of the things that I've been like, okay, we've done this. But again, in my true spirit, which I am very much an optimist, I've said to myself, well, if you start at this level where it's hard, and you get through this, know that you can get through almost anything now.
Exactly,
and
the only way is up.
Exactly, the only way is up. So that's how I've told myself, and that's how I'm like, you know what? The only way is up from here. So hey, get on with it.
All right, and that actually segues us into this great question: is how do you bounce back from failure personally?
When I've had those times when, as I said, whether it's failure or whatever, it's again just realizing that your attitude makes a big difference. And my attitude is always one of, okay, that's happened. Don't let that get you down. Okay, it's seeing the bigger picture within everything, accepting that in life we all have to go through some sort of failure anyway. If somebody says to me, I've never been through failure, I'm going to be like, ooh.
They've never tried anything.
You've never tried anything. You've never really lived, have you? You know what I mean? For me, failure has gotten me to the place where I've really gotten to know what I'm made of, my metal. Understand? Because when you go through failure, that's when everything starts to sort of come in on you, whether it's your own self-fears, all of a sudden becoming giants. Understand? And you've got to face those giants if you want to bounce, beyond that. And so when I go through periods of failure, it's literally just saying, you know what? This is meant to happen. Learn from it. Get up and go. Because to me, I'm like, if you're living, okay, there's everything to live for. Keep on moving forward. Keep on stepping forward until I'm in that box where I'm 6 feet under and I can't move, then I've got no choice. I have to stay there. But for as long as I'm here living and I'm part of the living, we got to keep on going.
I agree.
And that's my attitude.
The only time you give up is when you're done, when basically you're in the box and you're 6 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the only time that you have an excuse to say, I'm not going to do something, or I'm just going to lay back and do nothing. So I absolutely agree. Now, I know you don't normally look out to designers and other people for influences, but when you look around at the new designers that have come up, at the different, sorts of designers who are coming up, who are the female designers that you think they inspire you to be better, or they just inspire you by the quality of what they're creating?
I think one of the long people in the game have been Sika Designs.
Okay.
I think I admire her for her drive, for her vision, because she came into the market even before I did. But you could see she came in with that vision of, a different standard. Her vision was more or less, to take African fashion and put it out there on a luxury, if you like, pedestal.
Right.
And I like that because that says she's thinking outside of the usual box when it comes to African fashion. She's aspiring even beyond. And I really like that. And so for me, when I see what Sika does, and the fact that she at one time even had a collection with Liberties.
Really?
I'm like, yes, girl, you're aiming high. Nice. You know what I mean? You are not sort of pigeonholing yourself and thinking, I can't do this because nobody has ever done it before. You are constantly breaking, your boundaries and going even further and even further. And I'm like, this is what I call a woman who is definitely working hard to put African fashion on the map. And she's doing everything, to really let people that would normally not even experience it, because that's what you want. Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. So Sika, interesting. I'll go and I'll do some.
Check her out. Yeah.
And now this is almost an unfair question to ask, but out of all of your designs, which is your favorite? I know it's almost like asking a mother to choose her favorite child, but you're a mom. There's always that favorite child.
Oh, God. Wow. Maybe it's the Alice dress. The Alice dress is a very popular dress. And I always laugh about this because people come into the shop or sometimes email me and I'm like, oh, well, I've got like 4 of that particular one anyway in so many different colors because guess what? I make them. But I think it's the Alice dress.
So remind me, which is the Alice dress?
The Alice dress it has a baby doll feel to it, but a sort of 60s, 50s kind of, intertwining, if you like. So it's, really fitted on top, and then the balloony skirt bit and the pleating and all that sort of stuff. So really, really simple but an elegant dress that transitions very, very well. Whether it's sort of going to the office, because I used to wear it when I used to go to the civil service, or I used to work in the civil service. I've worn it, I wear it to weddings, I've worn it to parties, I've also worn it if I'm just hanging out with the girls or going for a stroll in the park. It's one of those dresses that you can sort of just have as much use. And again, that goes back to how I was raised as a child. Everything now is fast fashion. You buy, you wear, you throw away. Mm-hmm. Back in the day when I was growing up, you don't throw away. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You would pass it down, but eventually it would be packed in a cupboard somewhere, and as fashion does, inevitably it will come back around. And so you take it out, you spring it out, it looks like fresh again, and you add this or add that, or you would sort of just snip here, snip there, create something slightly different, and that's it. So that's how I approach, fashion as well. I say to people, fast fashion I don't quite get when you just buy and throw away. It's so wasteful as well.
It's bad for the environment, but also considering right now when you look at a lot of the major brands are suffering backlash. Zara is going through it where there's a petition of them not paying their workers, people who are creating this clothes for them, and that support their brand, because without the clothes they have no brand. And so I think fast fashion is no longer something that we can stomach, and I think that also segues quite quickly and easily into the question around sustainability. How do you as a designer bring sustainability to your clothes, to your work, to what you do, add into that conversation about sustainable fashion?
Well, part of it is, again, is having that discussion as well. Because I think, especially the younger generation, I think that's what they're used to as well. They just think, okay, I can't be seen in this twice, or I buy it in this. And I think it's having those discussions around that, because I am very vocal about saying, you know what, this is something, and the love that is poured in, and the fact that we do invest in things like quality, because again, I do not buy from China. I do not produce my stuff in China at all, because I believe in paying people a fair wage, because at the end of the day, we all need to live, we all need to eat. We have the same desires, if you like, when it comes to the basic necessities. So for me, I don't go anywhere near that. I've always been against things like that. So I produce my stuff here in London. And of course, it's a bit more expensive. I know that. But my conscience is clear as well. Because I'm like, whether it's me making or bringing alongside some of the women that I work with, because again, I'm particularly focused on bringing women in, because I know what it's like if you're a mother. It's hard to balance work-life balance. It's hard to... So being able to have women alongside me who can, maybe take care of the child where they're doing some sewing, and at the same time still being able to feel like they're in control of their lifestyles, for me, is all sort of me giving back. But as I said, some of it is having that discussion with people and just saying, what goes into us producing what we produce, and helping them to understand how they can sort of care for their stuff and use it on and see the possibilities. Because a lot of people, again, don't see possibilities when it comes to fashion, if you know what I mean. And just saying to them how you could use our garments, in a sense, is part of having that sustainability sort of discussion. But also, one of the things that I do is that I'm not wasteful. So if you come to my shop, you would see that from that piece of material, whatever little trailings are left don't just get thrown away. They would either be used to make purses, they'd be used to make earrings. The other lady that I work with, Veronica Dolls, who does amazing handmade dolls, the spare bits would also go to her to dress her dolls.
Oh, cute.
So we're using every bit. And so, that's our philosophy in terms of how we approach fashion as well, and using every bit of it. Yeah.
I like that, especially using it with the dolls as well. So there's bits of a little doll walking around with bits of my outfit.
Yeah,
I like that.
So if you're a mom and daughter and you want to do that, or get the daughter maybe a doll, and where you can do that.
That is actually quite cute. Okay, so we've come to this point of the show, and we always talk about this. So just very quickly, it's 43 minutes into the show. And if you were just joining us, you've missed a whole conversation. I'm sat here with Mariatu Turay, and we're talking about Gita's Portal. We're talking about sustainable fashion. We're talking about her going from homeless teen to actually brick and mortar store, creating design that is both ethical and sustainable. But most important is it's fashion centered around the African fabric. So if you just joined us, I don't know where you've been and what you've been doing. So...
Yeah, I've missed all.
Tell me, my sister. They've just missed. I don't know what they're doing. So we come to the point where we talk about the so loud moment of the week, and I think exactly. If you were on earlier, you know what we're about to say, but you weren't, so it's on you. So yes, who are you going to give that so loud moment to?
I think we're both in agreement now from
Yes.
earlier that it's going to be my husband, Edward Acker. And this is not just for my husband, actually. I want us as women. This is something actually that I said I was going to do, and I haven't quite gotten to it yet. But I think this is a perfect time to really just step forward and do it. Where I want us women to start celebrating our husbands, okay? The husbands that are really making a difference, the husbands that are supporting us. We need to start really changing the media rhetoric around black men, because most of what you see about black men is negative. It's not good to see black men portrayed that way. As a woman, myself, who has a black husband, who has black sons, who has, of course, black brothers and all that sort of stuff. And, think about black men as well, if this is what they constantly sort of hearing the media, and it's sort of an indirect reflection of what people are saying black men are all about. You know what I mean? We need to start actively, and we don't need to wait for the media to do this for us. We need to do it ourselves. Is celebrate our black men, appreciate them for what they are doing, the difference they're making. My shine out loud or shout out loud moment is to my husband, Edward Acker. He's a wonderful husband, a great father. He's always behind me, supporting me all along the way from very start of Gita's Portal. He's been there. He's a really passionate guy who wants to see me succeed. He always says to me that my success is his success, and truly, truly, he's walked that walk. And as I said, he's a family guy, loves his children, makes my life so much more saner. Saner is a word. But, he gives me that balance. And can you imagine when you're walking with somebody who gets you, who wants to see you succeed, who is, each step you're taking, he's there with you. Life is much sweeter. So for me, thank you so much, Edward, for being an amazing husband. And to all the men out there who are doing amazing things and are not getting the sort of, shout out or the recognition, this is to you as well. Women, let's get up and start to celebrate our men, okay? They need it. It's important.
I really don't have much to say after that, then. Let's do this first. I absolutely champion that. I celebrate your husband because, like I said, I know he's been there. He's been on that walk with you. And so, yes, your husband, hats off to him. But I actually approve of that idea. We don't champion them enough. So the ones who are doing what they're meant to be doing,
Amen.
For the ones who are supporting the friends, the brothers, the cousins,
the children, our sons,
the non-blood brothers,
Yep.
All of those people. And I'm an auntie to 3 amazing young men. Well, 1 young man and 2 tiny people. And they are boys. And so my job is to champion them and what they do. So I co-sign to that message.
Yeah, and if we start to affirm our men, even as little boys, trust me, that's what they're going to grow up to be. All those positive affirmations are planting seeds in their lives. Seeds that are positive seeds that will grow, and you would see the results. Because when you plant a positive seed, guess what? That tree must bear fruit. It must bear fruit. So please, 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 let's do this.
Yeah, you know what? I think we should just segue and keep talking about this because that seems to be a topic she's really passionate about. In fact, maybe we should just get her back to talk about this when she started some kind of program to champion men, because I can see it bubbling away in her head here. But yeah, my other question for you, and I have a few more. I do the Columbo thing. One more question.
Okay.
So how do you self-care? You've mentioned self-care before, but what exactly do you do on an ideal day? What does your ideal day look like, and how do you self-care in that day?
Okay, let me go back a little bit. Now, for me, self-care is one of those interesting topics because I guess, and I may be wrong on this, so but I guess a lot of people self-care on the outside, I think, where in a lot of ways, maybe for one reason or another, that might be to sort of not deal with something on the inside or mask something, okay? Mm-hmm. And my approach to self-care is deal with the inside first.
Right.
Okay? Take care of the inside. So if you're in a space, and for me, self-care is a lot of, because I'm a Christian, I've never hidden that. And for me, it's, if the inside is right, okay, where the inside, emotionally, spiritually, you're at a place where you're healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah? Everything else starts to come from that. So I invest, and that's what I was saying when I was saying the 4 areas that I really focus on. And one of those was my spirituality or myself and taking care of the inside and making sure that I'm in a healthy place in terms of even how I see myself. I think a lot of the work is already done to some extent, because when you're in a healthy space and your mind is healthy, you start to think differently. You start to, the energy that pours out of you, again, it fills into that thing, what I've been saying from the beginning of the show about shining.
Yeah.
About shining. You're at a place where there's balance. You're not waiting for anybody to define you. You're not waiting for somebody to affirm you necessarily, because you already know who you are. You're already owning that space. You're unapologetic about what makes you you. And I think a lot of times we're not really investing in that side of ourselves.
Right.
You know, it's fine to go to the gym. Yes, you need that. I'm trying to do that, not very consistently myself, and take care of all the physical. But if the inside is not right, all that is just cosmetic work. And the inside is always going to keep on, sipping out and affecting all the other areas of your life. So for me, self-care is very much starting on the inside, seeing where you are and trying to work on that. And once you've worked on that, I think everything else will start to fall into place beautifully. And that's how the whole comes together.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. So, what's next for you?
Hey, world domination.
Pinky and the Brain.
Hey, that's exactly what I was going to say. I love that cartoon. I'm like, guess what? No matter what the failure, guess what? I'm going to get back up tomorrow night and go, hey, I'm going to dominate the world domination. No, on a serious note, yes. The vision is big. As I said, you got to see it to have it.
Yes.
There are a lot of things that I'm seeing, and I'm going to have it. So watch this space. Watch this space, darling.
Awesome. Now, I know where you are in terms of where the store is. For people who are listening, where can they find you?
You can find us online, and it's gitasportal.com. In fact, we have a fantastic sale going on, so hint, 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 hint. You can also find us in Deptford. We're in Arch 3 for Deptford Market Yard, Deptford SE8 for BX. And I'm not ashamed to give you my number because this is a business number. As I said, I'm really passionate. We're not just about clothes. We're about empowering women. We're about saying to women, be bold, win, wear color, step out, don't be shy, get your va-va-voom going. We're also about promoting a positive image of brand Africa. So for me, I am always looking to connect. I'm always looking to, share my journey story, connect with women, inspire women. I'm also looking for you to inspire me as well, because iron sharpens iron, if you know what the saying. So you can find us, again, as I said, Arch 3 for Deptford Market Yard, Deptford, London, SE8 4AN. I'm literally on the courtyard of Deptford Station. It's a beautiful glass station, really beautiful location. I'm in a heritage arch. So these arches literally were part of, if you know the history of Deptford, part of the train extension where back in the day when the goods would come on the steam trains, you'll have the horses to bring them down this little carriageway. So I'm underneath one of those beautiful arches, absolutely beautiful arch, beautiful brickwork, nice area. If you haven't been to Deptford in a while, I will say to you, you're missing a gem in the southeast. It's not the Deptford you used to know, not the Deptford you remember. It's absolutely changed. A lot's happening. So if you want to come down, don't have a problem even getting your coffee, and we sit down there and we chat from one of my neighbor small businesses. I love to chat. I love to connect with people. That's the beauty of doing what I do. So do come down and support. Come and see me. If you want to chat about my journey story, see how my story, you can learn from it and how it can inspire you. More than happy to do that. That's something I do all the time. People come to my shop and actually say to me, oh, Mariatu, I'm not going to stay more than 30 minutes because you talk, and we'll end up being here for 2 hours, and you talk, and then you give me all these ideas, and I go back and I'm like, that's what it is about, babes. So do come down, okay? I'm looking forward to seeing you. Of course, always, you can connect with me as well on Facebook, on Instagram. It's all Gita's Portal through and through. And the beauty, as I say now, is that, hey, I'm famous. If you just do Gita's Portal, like pop up on Google. So if you do Gita's Portal, I will pop up, okay? So Gita's Portal, GITAS, Portal, PORTAL. All right, my lovies.
Oh my God, woman, you're so unreal. You cannot take the African out of the woman.
Oh no.
I love it.
It's all here, authentic.
Yeah. And please do not use your Google map when you get to the station to try and find her shop, because it will send you on a wild goose chase. Talking from experience here. It was trying to send me across the road, round the corner, and come back. Don't do that. Just get out of the station, go to, it's past the coffee shop to your left of the station.
You can't miss it. We're a row of nice little arches, and I'm number 3 in that row.
So yeah, so that's it. That's all. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much as well. Thank you. You've made it very, very enjoyable.
Oh, you're welcome.
You. And thanks for listening, everybody.
So this has been another episode, pre-birthday episode, and I have finally gotten the incredible Mariatu Turay on the show, and I just can't say enough about this woman. Her clothes are amazing. What she stands for is equally as amazing, and this is a woman who has consistently delivered on what she's promised in terms of what she creates. So I am just so honored that she's with us tonight. And if you've missed the show, catch the replay, subscribe to the show, give us a review on iTunes and, on Google, and we will appreciate it, especially on iTunes. So thank you for joining us on the show. Join us for the next show coming up. As always, I'm Lillian Abogo, and it has been fantastic.
You've been listening to the Shine Out Loud Show. If you want to connect with us or let us know what you thought of today's show, be sure to follow us on Twitter @Shine Out Show.